way, that's already episode 62 of the Red Mile Rundown, but I'm pleased to be with you guys again. And alongside me, as always, my co-host from flamesnation.ca, it is Mr. Robert Munich. Robert, how are you? How was your weekend excursion to Winnipeg?
Yeah, I was gonna say I just wanted to get away this weekend. I just wanted to get away from it all. I wanted to get away from the cold, get away from hockey. So I decided to book a trip to Winnipeg and go watch the Winnipeg Jets on Saturday. So yeah, it was actually it was a very fun weekend. Went out and visited a friend, and Winnipeg's actually a nicer town than a lot of people give it credit for. So, I would not recommend going when it's minus 30 to minus 40 there, but if you can, check out Winnipeg. It's honestly not that bad. I actually had a really good weekend. So yeah, things are good.
And Robert was paid by Tourism Winnipeg for... No, just kidding.
Yeah, this episode is brought to you by Tourism Winnipeg.
Please visit us. Please visit us now. Robert, you got to watch an exciting hockey game in Winnipeg on Saturday. Winnipeg is a very good hockey market, very good hockey town. Meanwhile, here in Calgary, you missed probably one of the better games we've seen the last little while from the Flames on Sunday versus the Anaheim Ducks. I thought that was a pretty good contest for the Flames. But before that, they had a couple of uninspiring efforts. What did you make of the week that was for the Flames from what you saw?
Yeah, uninspiring efforts is a great way to describe it because, yeah, you score one goal in 3 straight games against the Devils, Penguins, and Capitals. And the Devils and Penguins games in particular were really, really rough. I went to the game against Pittsburgh. I was really excited to see Sidney Crosby play live and be in that atmosphere. And man, the Flames were terrible. It's probably one of the 3 worst games I've ever attended in my entire life, and I've attended a lot of Flames games. It was brutal. It was just the whole week they kind of lacked emotion. They lacked that give a shit sort of meter, and I don't think it's a coincidence that once they trade Rasmus Andersson, things have started going downhill for this team. It's kind of what I predicted, a few weeks ago, and it's definitely coming to fruition here. It was not a good week of Flames hockey. That's for sure.
They looked emotionally deflated to me is how I'm going to word it, to try and keep myself from swearing and being all uppity about these games, because it was not fun to watch the Devils game. It was not fun to watch the Penguins game. The Washington game was fun for about 19 minutes, and then it stopped being fun again. But Sunday was kind of fun again for the Flames until Bennett Seneca decided he was going to inject himself into that hockey game with a nice hat trick that he had. But overall, I think the Flames, they just lacked a little bit of emotion this last week. And that leads us to the conversation here today, Robert. You brought something up to me on text when we were talking this last couple of games where you were talking about how time is, maybe us as fans and as those who view this hockey team, kind of adjust our expectations when we watch a Flames game. So I'll turn over to you here. Can you elaborate on what you're meaning by that and how we should be adjusting here? Because I agree with you. Time to adjust how we're kind of like watching these games and reset the expectations a bit here.
Yeah, and I think it comes from both the team and the players' standpoint, and then as well as the fans. And from the team standpoint, I think it's time to understand that the playoffs are over. Any sort of hope that you had of making the playoffs, being in the mix for the playoffs, being competitive, it's over. It's 100% over. I know they're not that far out. I haven't checked the standings yet, but I don't think it's unheard of in terms of coming back from a 8 or 9 or 10 point deficit to get to a playoff spot. But just looking at the roster and looking how they're playing and knowing that Rasmus Andersson isn't here anymore.
It's 10 points, by the way.
10 points. Okay. Yeah. So it's not insurmountable, but with the roster you have, it's over. It's completely over. So if I'm the team, it is 100% time to change expectations, and that starts with playing young players. The priority switches to playing young players, and this needs to come from Craig Conroy. Conroy needs to go down to Ryan Huska's office and say, "Hey, we're 10 points out. It's time we're gonna end up trading some players. We're gonna transition into really focusing on the development of youth." And that is exactly what needs to happen here when it comes to this team. They need to move out veterans. Between now and the deadline, I think they should make at least 3 trades. I think they should move out at least 3 veteran players. I really do. And then I think Ryan Huska really needs to start pushing some of these young players. Look no further than Matvei Gridin, who's really starting to come along. I saw the assist that he had against Anaheim, and just a spectacular one touch pass right across the crease. Like, it was beautiful. You need more of that from a guy like Matvei Gridin. It's time to stop healthy scratching Hunter Brzustevich. He should be a lock to be in the lineup from now on. When Zane Parekh returns, play the hell out of him, play the hell out of Yan Kuznetsov, and then go down to the farm and bring up a guy like Rory Cairns. Bring up a guy like William Stromergan again. Maybe bring up a guy like Sam Morton and play him as your 4C. It's time just to adjust expectations, because it's so frustrating as a fan watching this team continually put out veteran players who are doing absolutely nothing right now. A lot of the veteran players on this team have been terrible as of late, yet they continually get more ice than young players. It makes no sense. So yeah, I just think it's time for the organization to shift gears here and really prioritize young players. And I guarantee that their fan base will be very happy with that, way more engaged, and a lot more people will be watching and wanting to actually go to games. So I don't know if you feel the same way right now, but I just think it's time, man. It really is.
Do you know who feels the same way? My social media mentions. I had conversation after conversation after that Anaheim game in the overtime, and how many people were upset, they were mad, they were angry that we saw Uyghur over and over again and Backlund over and over again, and Gridin didn't get a sniff, no Brzustevich in the overtime, none of that stuff. And so you're not alone in this thinking, Robert, and I share the sentiment as well, where it's time to shift the focus. It's time for Huska, or Conrad, like you said, to go down and Ryan Huska and be like, listen, your job is not going to be lost over this next 30 games, okay? It's just not going to happen. You need to adjust, though, how we're coaching this team and how we're deploying this roster. It makes no sense to continually shove 20 minutes of Jonathan Huberdeau down our throats, or, give us more Ryan Lomberg than 12 minutes. Like, we don't need those kind of things. It's not going to help your roster. You're not making a playoff run. You're not making a playoff push. It's just not going to happen. You spent that entire month of December getting yourself back to 500, and where did that get you? 28th in the league. And then you fell down to 30 and 31, and then you're back to 28 after that game on Sunday. But it's just so much effort being put in just being, right around 28, 29 overall in the league. So if you put in the Gridins and the Brzezeviches full time and the Pareks and maybe the Stromgrens, are you really going to be any worse? You're just not going to be any worse, in my opinion. And so these players can get into the lineup and they can gain the experience that they need. What is it to be an NHLer full time? How do I stay in this lineup? How do I get myself to the next level so I can be part of this group next season? Let those carrots dangle for these younger players, and let these younger players come to this league and figure it out. You've seen two examples this year of younger players getting into the lineup and seizing opportunity. We first saw Sam Honzik get put on a line with Backlund and Coleman, and he took off. He played really well till he got injured, and he was really effective on that line, and we finally saw him get some points before he got injured. Really good success story. And we've seen Yan Kuznetsov get the opportunity on the back end, and he has taken off with it. He's been almost undeniable in the Flames back end now because he's taken the opportunity. So why not try that again with more players? Why not get younger players into this lineup? So I'm with this 100% here, Robert. Adjust the expectations of this roster from Craig Conroy to Ryan Huska to the expectations of these players. And then us as fans, we can approach these games as such as well. We're not expecting them to go off and win 10 of 11 and be in the playoff chase. We're just expecting to go out and watch good, exciting hockey. And I'm not sure anyone out there can argue against watching young players try to perfect their craft in the National Hockey League and think that's going to be a worse product than what we're currently seeing. Because what we're currently seeing, no one can tell me that's inspired hockey this last week, because it was awful.
Oh, it was so bad. And just you go down the list of some of these veteran players, and like I'm going from like the very bottom of the statistic list here over the last 15 games. So like this is since Christmas Day. Joel Hanley in the last 15 games, 1 point, -4. Yeah, like I know he's not a scorer, but like he's not really doing much. Joel Farabee, 2 points in his last 15 games, -7. Huberdeau, 3 points in his last 14. Uyghur, 4 in his last 15. Kadri 4 in his last 15, and he's a minus 14. It's just like these veteran players aren't even doing anything right now, and hell, if you put in some of these young guys, like they actually might even end up being a better team right now.
They might.
They're gonna bring so much more energy and passion and speed to the game than a lot of these veteran players are right now, that they literally could be a better team. It might not be by much, but it could be like a slight improvement, because that's how bad some of these veteran players have been lately.
And it might not even be result wise too, Robert. You might put in, say Stromgren takes Huberdeau's spot. They still might not get any points and they still might lose, but you might see effort, right? You might see some buy-in, some dig in, some emotion, some fight back. And that to me is a win in of itself. Like, the results shouldn't matter to the Flames the rest of this season. It really should be about putting players in spots to succeed and to learn and to grow. Brstevich should be your power play 1 guy. Parekh should be your power play 2 guy, or vice versa. Let those 2 kids run some power play units and learn how to do it at this level. Gridden, put him out there 3-on-3 overtime. What's the worst that happens? They lose another one? Like, what the experience these kids will get will be invaluable down the road as this team continually tries to build itself when they enter this new building and they try to get other players into this lineup. This experience will help these guys down the line. And then next year at camp, you're going to see maybe it's Stromgren battling and Gridden battling and Honzik's battling, all for 2 spots, right? 2 of the 3 will make the team, 1 won't. Or Blake Coleman's can be replaced with a guy like a William Stromgren just based on how he has progressed in his progression. But you don't know unless you try. You just listed off a bunch of veterans and how gaudy those numbers are. You can't convince me that the AHL players coming up will be worse than that. You just can't.
No, you can't. And like you said, a lot of it comes down to just effort level with those guys right now. Like,
yeah,
you can tell, like, yeah, I mean, you can just tell that the Rasmus Andersson trade has killed this team. And, like we talked about that a lot over the last few episodes here. And like, I was really kind of like preaching that as long as Rasmus Andersson was on this team, the Flames were going to remain, quote unquote competitive and in the mix, and they were going to be winning games and all that kind of stuff. But now that he's been traded, and he actually got traded sooner than I thought. I actually thought the Flames were going to hold on to him like right up until the Olympic break or even beyond it. And I think what we've seen without Rasmus Andersson and without Blake Coleman, who's out with an injury right now, I talked about before, once those guys are out of the lineup, once they're traded and the Flames embark on the tougher part of their schedule here, it's over. It's game over. And we are seeing that play out to perfection right now. This team without Rasmus Andersson and Blake Coleman, 2 of the biggest drivers, 2 of the 3 biggest drivers, I'll throw Michael Backlund in that mix too. Without those guys, without those emotional leaders and those guys who are out there giving it their all, blocking shots, playing their asses off, without those 2 on the ice and in that dressing room, you can tell that this is a way different team. This team goes from being maybe in that 19 to 25 range in the overall standings to being a clear bottom 5 team in the NHL. And it's so clear to us right now from what we've seen over the last week here, ever since Rasmus Andersson's been traded. So, I predicted that they were going to fall off a cliff after the trade deadline, but it's actually coming quite a bit sooner. And for those on Team Tank, you could not be happier with how the results are playing out right now, because this team is a mess right now.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Like, literally, the only thing that's like keeping them in games is Devin Cooley, because Dustin Wolf has not been playing all that well lately for his standard. Devin Cooley, he's like him and like Michael Backlund and Connor Zarin, Yegor Sharangovich, Kevin Ball, like those types of guys are all playing pretty well right now. And then throw in Cooley, who's literally has the best numbers in the NHL, which is insane. Those guys are kind of keeping them in games, but it's not even close to enough because they can barely score more than 1 goal these days.
It sounds so uninspiring, and no disrespect to these players, but it sounds so inspiring when you talk about how Backlund, Zari, and Sharangovich are leading your roster, right? And that's no disrespect to the players. That's just where the Flames are at. That's sort of where they are. Those are the guys that are pulling the wagon. Those are the guys that are scratching and clawing some points out for the Flames. Devin Cooley's been really, really good for this team. But like you mentioned, they're 3-7-2 in the month of January. And they have yet to win a game without Rasmus Andersson. So It's not pretty. I don't think it's going to get any better results wise, but we can make it more exciting wise. Roberts, we talked here about the playoffs. Hope is over. We got to reset our expectations. So, is there a player that you want to see more of that the Flames maybe should call up and see more of? Like, who are we looking at for players who you want to see? Because you could talk about the obvious ones. We want to see more Gridden. We'd like to see more Perek in the lineup when he's back. We'd like to see some more Brstavich. Is there anyone else that's really down in the American Hockey League that you think the Flames need to have a look at here?
I mean, there's just a few guys who I think their roles need to be elevated within the organization. It's both at the NHL and AHL level. Like, I start with a guy like Matt Coronado, who has really gone quiet. He had a really good game on Sunday against the Ducks, which is great. But prior to that, he had gone quite quiet. He's minus 20 this year, which is not great. He's just. There are times when he's not shooting the puck. We go back to November there when he was getting 3-4 shots on goal a game and was one of the most dangerous players on the ice for about like a 3-4 week period.
Yeah,
that's the kind of Matt Coronado we need back. So I'd love to see the coaching staff work with him and put him in as many positions to succeed as possible, both on the power play 3-on-3 and 5-on-5. I'd love to see him like become one of like the go-to forwards on this team. I'd love to see Connor Zary get a little bit more of an elevated role. I'd love to see him play more minutes, maybe even give him a shot to play center, between the trade deadline and the end of the season. I would love to see that because he's really stepped his game up. Since Christmas, he's tied for first scoring on the Flames with 10 points in 15 games. And he kind of looks like the confident, skillful Connor Zary that we saw last year. So I want to see him get a big role. And then, yeah, of course, the guys that you just mentioned. Matvei Gridden should be getting 17, 18 minutes a night. He should not be benched at any point of the game. He should be on the first power play unit. He should be first out on 3-on-3 overtime. Same goes for Hunter Brstavich. Same will go for Zane Perek when he comes back. Continue to give Jan Kuznetsov big minutes. And then, yeah, kind of like I mentioned earlier, you'd love to see Sam Morton get another chance at 4C. You'd love to see Stromgren get another chance. Rory Cairns get another chance. Maybe even kind of closer to the end of the season, maybe even bring up guys like Aidar Suniev and, maybe you give a guy like Carter King a game just to show him what it's like to play at the NHL level. I know he hasn't had a great year in the AHL, but just to show him like, hey, like this is what it's like. Maybe in like the last or second last game of the year. Like that's the kind of stuff I really want to start seeing from this team. Enough with giving Joel Farabee a ton of ice time, enough with giving Kadri a ton of ice time. Huberdeau, like just enough. Like start transitioning some minutes to the younger players on this team and start handing the team over to these guys because pretty soon Coleman's going to be gone. Anderson's already gone. Kadri's going to be gone. Backlund's going to be gone within probably a couple years here. All of a sudden, this, and who knows what's going to happen with Mackenzie Weegar? Like he looks miserable this season. Is there a potential he asks out? All of a sudden, all these veteran players, the core 6 or the core 7 of these incredible veteran players, a lot of these guys are going to be gone. So you got to start transitioning this team to the younger players. It has to start now. They can't keep delaying the inevitable. It's just, yeah, it's so obvious to me, so obvious to everybody in hockey except Ryan Huska and some of the upper management in this organization. So yeah, just those are the kind of guys that I'm looking to see over the next, couple months here.
I like how you worded it at the beginning there, where you talked about elevating roles of certain players. I really like that. I really like that because I didn't think of it that direction. I thought about, okay, who like Rory Cairns we could call up. Sam Morton might be interesting to call up. Maybe there's a defenseman we can see if we can call up and give him a game too. But to elevate roles of guys currently on the roster, your Connor Zary's, your Coronados, your Kuznetsovs, your Brstaviches. I really like that. I really like that angle of hey, we got some guys here that should be a part of our future, that we need them to step up and take on roles. Like who's going to replace a Blake Coleman? That's hard to replace. But if we give some of that time to say a Stromgren, we can learn, that guy can learn that role. Or can Gridden be a guy that replaces a Farabee once he moves on? Or we need someone to play center in this league at this level. Is there a guy we can look at? I like that angle of it, Robert. So that's well done by you, because as certain guys that you want to see, I think they're all here. essentially, aside from maybe Stromgren, of guys that people are really clamoring to see, and that's your Parex, more Brustevich, more of Gridden, and those type of players, and just continually play the pants off them. That's just all I can say about it, because that's like you mentioned there, Robert. That's the future, and these guys, that core 7, they've already started to dwindle, and you need a new core. And I don't think it's going to be Huberdeau or Kadri that's going to lead this team down the future here.
One other guy I'll throw out there.
Yeah.
What do you think of the idea of Cole Rechny turning pro?
I like it, to be honest.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
And here's the thing. And here's why I go that way. You watched him elevate at the World Junior Championships, and that's a lot of what people have viewed him. And so he put himself in a good position in that tournament to put himself on the radar. But if you go watch him at college, this guy has a lot of skills that translate pretty easy into the NHL. And that's his work ethic, being in the right spots, winning faceoffs, the intangible things that are hard to teach. Those come naturally to Cole. Now, is he a full-time NHL guy? No, he might spend some time in the A next year if he signs with the Flames this offseason or the end of this season. He might spend a lot of time in the A next year, but why not sign him and bring him in and give him a taste of what it is? And then you've got him in-house next year to help progress him along. Because I think a lot of what he does, like I've mentioned there, is NHL ready. What about yourself?
You know what? I would love to see him continue to play in the NCAA, personally. Sure. I'd love to see him continue to get bigger and stronger, go back and be the first line center in North Dakota the next year, be a captain or an alternate captain with Team Canada at the World Juniors next year. Just continue, because he's also he's a smaller guy too. Like you can tell he's very slight still. Yeah. Like he's still got that teenager body and he's still becoming a man. So, I know they could play him in the AHL next year, which could be good for his development, but I would personally just like to see him stay in the NCAA. But I have seen some conversation out there about people saying, they should look to maybe sign him this year. And yet the other two guys in the NCAA that are really dominating for them, Ethan Wittenbach and Colin Potter. Yeah. I know Potter just got hurt, so he's not going to be eligible to sign a contract, but those are the other two guys I'd also like to keep in the NCAA, because they're both smaller guys. And I think another year or two in the NCAA getting bigger and stronger would only help with their development too.
And like we saw with Zane Parekh, we sometimes, I'm also guilty of this, we tend to forget that side of things, right? You mentioned teenager body, right? Still trying to become a man. Think back to your 19, 20, 21-year-old self and how different you are between now and where you are in life. So we do overlook that a little bit with these guys. So yeah, NCAA is a good development place. So if these guys aren't ready, keep them there. But the Flames, they have options for this roster, and I'd like to see them exercise some of those roster moves, right? Let's play some of these kids and put them in spots to succeed here.
Hey, before we move on to the next topic, I wanted to kind of go back to Blake Coleman for a second.
No, not allowed.
Okay, on to the next topic.
All right, Blake Coleman, what do we got?
I was just thinking, when we were talking about how once Anderson has left, the team just does not look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And also with Coleman not being in the lineup, they're a mess. Do you think it's a realistic possibility that management is watching the last week of Flames hockey and saying to themselves, this is exactly why we need Blake Coleman to prevent this from happening? I'm almost wondering if, and you see rumors from Pierre LeBrun and Darren Dreger and those guys, and how they say that Coleman, they think he can be part of the solution, which I roll my eyes at. But I'm wondering from their perspective, do they see what's going on with this team, the lackluster efforts, the lack of emotion, the give a shit meter is low? When you put Blake Coleman back in your lineup, all those things are going to go up. I'm almost wondering if the Flames management group is looking at this Coleman situation saying, we can't trade him this year because look what this team looks like without Anderson and Coleman in the lineup. This could be an epic disaster between now and the end of the season. And to me and a lot of other fans, that's music to our ears. But to them, they're probably thinking, we're going to get destroyed. And maybe we have to keep this guy. I almost wonder, I'll ask you, what do you think the percentage chance Coleman is traded now that we've seen what life looks like without both him and Anderson?
Yeah, that really comes down to what the mantra is, right? Is it still, we got to win these hockey games? Because if that's what it is, Blake Coleman, I'm sorry, folks. Blake Coleman's not going anywhere.
100%.
He just is. He just isn't. We had a similar conversation a few weeks ago, and you asked me the likelihood these guys are traded, and I said 50%. If that's their thinking, Blake Coleman's staying 90%, right? Unless say a Dallas comes along and they're going to overpay, giving you Bork and Bichelle and a first type of thing to overpay for Blake Coleman. I don't think they're going to move him. And based off things we're reading, we're seeing, and based off of the history of this organization, what this ownership group has done in the past. So I hate to be that guy, because you want what's best for the organization, and what's best for the organization is to capitalize on your assets you have when their prices are the highest, which is right now. But you just don't see that from the Flames. When have they ever forward thought things, right? When have they ever thought ahead in the future? And we've had that conversation on this pod a few times. So to answer your question, I don't think they do trade him.
I'm the more I think about it, the more I think that Coleman's going to stay. And I think like it kind of swings differently when it comes to Nazem Kadri. I know we're going to talk about him a little bit later, or we could get into him right now. But the more I see things progressing here, the more I think Kadri's out. Because what we've seen from him over the last month has been the type of hockey that he played at the end of the Daryl Sutter season. Where it was so obvious that year that he had clearly given up on Daryl and he did not want to be playing for him anymore. And he just completely gave up. And that's exactly what I'm seeing from him right now. He's been terrible.
Yes.
He's been so bad. It's been so uncharacteristic because, earlier in the year, you and I talked about how he was one of the drivers of this team. It was him, Coleman, and Anderson. Now, over the last, this even dates back to before Christmas. It's now Backlund, Coleman, Anderson that were the drivers, and Kadri has taken a back seat, and he is mailing it in. Like you can tell with the body language, you can tell with the turnovers, the carelessness with the puck on his stick. He's trying to do way too much, and you saw him freak out on the bench against the Pittsburgh Penguins, like the
tantrum.
It was a temper tantrum. It really was. And
I can't believe Sportsnet praised him for that, by the way. That was
John. That's fire. That's showing grit and
determination.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
No.
Then my toddler loves Cheerios that much.
Your toddler is fierce for Cheerios, just like Nazem Kadri is. So yeah, I mean, like I'm gonna throw it to you. Where are you at on Kadri right now?
If they keep Blake Coleman, they have to trade Kadri. We'll start there. You cannot keep both of these guys. That is mismanagement. That's malfeasance. That's any of those conversations you want to have. You cannot keep both of these guys beyond this season. You just can't. Maximize your return for someone. You can't just keep everyone. I know they talk about this leadership group, but you've got your leaders. You've got Backlund. You got Weegar. Huberdeau's here till the end of time. You have your leadership group. You don't need 19 guys with letters on their sweaters to have a good organization. So if they keep Blake Coleman, sure, but they have to then trade Nazem Kadri. And unfortunately for the Flames, Nazem Kadri has been a NHL replacement level player for a good portion of a month and a half now. I went back, and you read some of the stats earlier today, Robert, his point total. I went back 15 games. So that's starting right at Christmas time. So since Christmas, Nazem Kadri with 1 goal, which he got on Sunday, so game 15, 3 assists for 4 points, minus 14. He only has 2 penalty minutes in that entire time too. So that's not Nazem Kadri's game. He's not engaged if he's not getting penalties. His shooting percentage is 3.6%. And he's getting 19-15 average ice time a night, and his faceoff percentage has plummeted below 50%. What would you say you do, Nazem, every single night besides throw a tantrum against the Penguins? Like, for me, it's less about his counting stats and more about how invisible he's become in driving play. They've been talking about putting players with him to get those players going. Well, no. Players have to play with Nazem to get Nazem going. And when you're paid like he is, and the expectations around you are that you're going to produce offensively for a team, and you've shown you can do it in the past. Earlier this year, you mentioned it, Robert. Earlier this year, this guy was the forward group. This guy was pulling everybody along. This guy was leading the team in points, and this guy, he looked really good. right around that middle of November to early December time. He was really, really good for the Flames. He's absolutely invisible right now. He's been terrible. He's been absolutely awful. And the only thing that you can draw from this, when you watch him and you watch him play, the only thing that keeps coming to my mind is that exact stretch that you talked about, Robert, against Daryl Sutter, where he quit. He quit on the Flames at the end of that year. Call it what it is. And that's what it looks like. He looks like he's heard these trade rumors or possibility of a move, or maybe he's even already asked out. We don't know. But he's just playing like he's quit, like he's given up. Like he sees the writing on the wall and he just said, until I move, I'll just kind of hang out here and collect my paycheck and go to dinner and it's baffling why he decides to do that. And it's disappointing. It's really, really disappointing because as a Flames fan, as a hockey fan, you pay to watch guys like Nazem Kadri go to work and to do his thing and perfect his craft. And he's a very special player when he wants to be, and he wants to be engaged. We just don't see that with Nazem. And it's not just hurting him, it's hurting his line mates. Like, when you play with Nazem Kadri, he expects you to give him the puck, which is fine. He expects you to go to the net. He expects you to play your way. Well, he's getting mad at the teammates for not passing him the puck. Play is dying on his stick. And his teammates are suffering for it because now lines after Nazem Kadri line are going out there in a worse position. They're going out there not being set up for success. And the power play suffering a little bit when he's out there. There's nothing positive from Nazem Kadri's play other than the fact he finished off a beautiful pass from Gridden on Sunday against the Anaheim Ducks. There's nothing from his play that is positive for me. So I'm done with him for right now until he shows me otherwise. But just disappointed in Nazem. Like, you expect way more out of a veteran. He's one of those veteran leaders that Don Maloney likes. He wants more Kadris, right? Remember that statement? I kind of want no Kadris, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think you do want more Kadris at this point in time. With
give me 0 Kadris, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like I personally think it gets overblown just how like competitive Kadri is. You know, you listen to the media and it's like this guy like drags everybody in the fight. People hate him. You know, like he's the most competitive player on the planet, and this guy's a serial winner and all this kind of stuff. And I think it gets way blown out of proportion. Don't get me wrong. He's a competitive guy, but he's not more competitive than a guy like Blake Coleman. He's not more competitive guy like Michael Backlund. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I'm seeing from his game right now that has evaporated. Just any sort of level of competitiveness is gone. It is completely gone right now. There's so many shifts where he is straight-legged on the back check. There's so many shifts where he's trying to dance through 4 guys, trying to do everything himself instead of making a smart player, getting a puck in deep and going to compete and try to win a board battle to get it back. The turnovers are really bad. And like I said, the carelessness overall with the puck on his stick is concerning. And just, yeah, the body language has also been really off. And I guess Nazem, he's the kind of player or person that, you know, when he's on his game and he's, you know, completely bought in, he's very competitive and he is a very good player. But then it feels like there's a switch that if it gets turned off, that competitiveness, and he's checked out, he completely quits on his team. It's totally weird. Like you don't really see that in the NHL too often. You normally see pretty consistent work ethic from most players. But you know, I think now that Anderson's gone, Kadri knows that this team is a mess. Kadri knows that this team is going nowhere over the duration of the rest of his contract. And I think he sees that. And I think he is checked out. And I think he's kind of turned that switch off. And I can almost guarantee I've gone from being like there's a 10% chance from him being traded to like 90+% chance that he gets traded. Because like you said, he's quit. You can tell he just doesn't really care. He's not invested in this group anymore. And you know, just like listening to Pat Steinberg sometimes on 960, when he talks about Kadri, he kept mentioning something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, that it's imperative that the Flames work with Kadri. Like if Kadri wants to move, that he has to come to them, and it's imperative the Flames work with him. And I never liked that sentiment. I always thought that was ridiculous.
I fight that one too.
But the reason Pat said it was because if Nazem is not 100% bought in, it becomes a problem. And we're starting to see that right now. And now I understand why Pat was saying that and why he was reporting that. Because yes, he has from our perspective, just watching him, he has checked out. And I do think it's only a matter of time before he goes to Craig Conroy and says, trade me right effing now. And his time in Calgary is going to be over. Because, yeah, it's ugly right now.
I think the Flames shouldn't wait for that, to be honest. I'm going to fight back on the narrative. I understand why Pat reports that. And when he's playing well and when things are going well, when the Flames are trying to have those conversations, yeah, you wait for Nazem to kind of approach for that. But right now, he's not fully protected. I'm going out there and I'm going to try to set the market. I'm going to try to push it. I'm going to try to say, well, you've quit on us, so why should we cater to you? And I don't like that things come to that situation, and I don't want to say that lightly because I don't know everything behind the scenes, but if he's quit, the Flames shouldn't be amicable. The Flames should be like, okay, well, let's get him out of here because now he's hurting more than just his lineup spot. He's hurting the line mates. He's hurting this team overall. And he should be moved, and he should be moved to someone who's going to pay a decent, a good, fair value price for the guy and get him out of here. If that's what he wants, then see you later. I really don't like when professional athletes quote unquote quit and don't do that. Put in your effort still. Show that you're still a good hockey player. Show that you give a crap about yourself and your professional pride. We don't even see that from Nazem. He just it's cardio most nights for this guy, and even then it's straight-legged cardio. So I think it behooves the Flames to move on from the guy, and it maybe the relationship is strained at this point, and it is what it is. So the fix would be move on from Nazem Kadri and go on with your daily business as the Flames. So it's disappointing that it's come to that point where we're even talking about trading Nazem Kadri because he was a good soldier for when he wanted to show up and play. He's not the only forward that we're a little bit.
Can I quickly just jump in there?
Yeah, jump in.
Yeah, I'll just kind of like go back to what I was saying. Like, I understand why Pat was reporting it, but I'm with you 100%. I do not agree with it. 100%. Nazem Kadri has a 13-team no-trade list. The Calgary Flames, that means that they have, 30 other teams, 17 other teams to work with, 18 other teams to work with to make a trade happen. You do not work with Nazem Kadri and hold his hand and say, "Oh, Nazem, where do you want to go? Like, we're
how does Minnesota sound?
Yeah, we're going to take significantly less in a trade return just to make you happy." No,
enjoy Winnipeg, Nazem.
Off to Winnipeg. Craig Conroy needs to do what's best for the Calgary Flames, not 100%. What's best for Nazem Kadri. You 100%. Put Nazem on the mother effing trade block. You sell him like you just did with Rasmus Andersson. You have an auction. And whoever pays the highest price for Nazem Kadri, who is in that list of 18 teams that he can go to, you trade him there. You do not go to Nazem and he says, "Hey, I'm only willing to go to Florida, Vegas, and Tampa." F that. Absolutely not. That is not how this should work. Craig Conroy needs to get a little more ruthless. He's an incredibly friendly guy, and I actually think it's one of the reasons why people have kind of, the reputation of the team has changed in the eyes of the players. And I think they really enjoy playing for Conroy. Yeah. But there does need to come a time and place where he needs to get ruthless. And we're saying it's ruthless to trade Nazem Kadri to one of 18 teams that they're allowed to. That's not ruthless, actually.
Oh, it's called business.
It's called business. It's within the rules of the contract. So it's not ruthless.
You negotiated 13 teams you didn't want to go to. That leaves me with these other 18. So
yeah.
Enjoy.
Maybe it's ruthless if team number 32 on his list of desirable places to play is Buffalo, and he forces him to trade to Buffalo. Okay, maybe that could be considered a little bit ruthless, but it's just like trade him for the most value. None of this hold Nazem Kadri's hand and do what's best for the player. Enough. You're the mother effing Calgary Flames. You got to do what's best for you. So yes, in a Nazem Kadri deal, if they wait for Nazem to come to them, or Nazem says, "Hey, I only want to go to 2 teams," and they oblige, then this is the biggest joke of an organization in the NHL if that happens. So yeah, I'm right there with you. That whole narrative is ridiculous. But the point I was making is that what Pat was saying is that the Flames were worried essentially about Nazem Kadri checking out if they're going to start shopping him, and we've kind of seen that play out, and we're seeing the results on the ice, and it's ugly. It's really ugly because he's probably been I would argue he's been one of maybe their worst forward over the last 15 games here. It's been a mess. And it's not a snake bitten player. It's a player that is just completely checked out. That's the frustrating part about it.
He's pouting. Let's call it what he's pouting. He sees the writing on the wall and he's pouting. Like any business person out there who runs a business, small business, large business, if you find someone who's in your room and is not doing their job and they're pouting and all that kind of, you get rid of that person. You don't ask them if they're okay and can we find you a better spot here. You don't baby them. You get rid of them because that's what's best for business. That's where the Flames I think are at with Nazem Kadri. Because to your point, I cannot name 5 players on this roster that have been worse than Nazem Kadri over the last 15, 20 games. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can probably get to maybe 2. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty. So don't play nice with Nazem Kadri. You have 18 teams you can trade him to. Start the bidding. And if he ends up going to the Islanders, so be it. If he ends up going to Colorado, so be it. Whoever gives you the highest bid, that's where he goes. And that they shouldn't be playing. Don't stop playing nice when it comes to business. You got to kind of do what's best for a business. Speaking of business, speaking of players that we're kind of upset at, speaking of people who have been struggling, we've talked about 10 probably every episode for a while here. He still sucks. He's still not producing anything. He's still not doing much. He did score a goal on Sunday, so that was kind of cool that he would show up and do that for us. What are you doing with Jonathan Huberdeau, Robert?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Man, this is a tough situation for the Calgary Flames and especially the fan base. I mean, watching Huberdeau on a nightly basis, there are nights when it's tough watching him play hockey because he is so ineffective. I think what we saw last year was the blueprint. I think if you're Ryan Huska and Craig Conroy, I think you got to sit down, have a heart-to-heart with Huberdeau and tell him what's happened this year is unacceptable and that in order to get back to being, an effective player, which he was last year, like he was a good player last year, certainly not worth $10.5 million, but he was fine. He made a positive impact on the team. He has to get back to that. He has to get back to focusing on defense. He has to get back to going to the net. He has to get back to focusing on the penalty kill. And he has to focus on shooting the puck again. He's not shooting the puck anymore. And he is here for at least the next 3 years. Maybe you can buy him out in the last 2. Maybe you could find a suitor, like a trade suitor, if you attach a draft pick and you eat half a salary in the last year or 2 of the contract. But at least for the next 3 years, like he's here and he's going to be part of this team. And you have to make the best of a bad situation. So if I were the Flames, I'd almost just like run through tape of last season and just show off all the good things he was doing and just say, Jonathan, this is what we want you to be. Like, you're not the skilled playmaker anymore. Like you can't make passes anymore. Like you hear some people say like he's the best playmaker on the team. He's not even close to the best playmaker on the team anymore.
That's now Gridden.
Like those days are over. Like literally, Matvei Gridden is a much better passer of the puck than Jonathan Huberdeau is right now. And Gridden's played like 8 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to, we could talk about resetting expectations for the season. They have to reset expectations for Jonathan Huberdeau and the type of player he is. Because I'm sure Huberdeau still thinks in his head that he can be the Florida guy, but he clearly can't. So it's time to adjust, and it's time to make the best of a pretty tough situation for the Flames. It's not that tough for Huberdeau because he's making $10.5 million, and I don't feel bad for him for a second.
But he's get cardio every night.
Totally. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, how would you approach it? Because I mean, it's turning in. I mean, not even turning into. It's a disaster. It's a total disaster of a contract.
Yeah, he's gotta want to be that player from last year too, as well. So, like, if he's not willing to buy into that, then you're really stuck. You're really stuck into what he actually is, because he's not providing you with anything. Even that goal yesterday is like, okay, it was fine, but all he did was shoot the puck at the end of the day. So this guy just might end up being a third line player at $10.5 million that might get you 40 points a season. And that's very uninspiring for the value you put into this player, to acquire him, to sign him, the expectations you had around him when he got here. And that's a big fall off from even last year's Huberdeau. It's a massive fall off. And like, I haven't done the on pace thing, but the last time you did the on pace thing that I saw, it was under 50 points he was on pace for again. It's just like, his contract's virtually untradeable. His contract is virtually unbuyoutable because it's just too long left on it. And so you're kind of stuck with trying to make the best of the situation with him in your lineup. And so that's trying to get him back to what he was last year, like you mentioned, Robert. But at the same time, he's got to want to do it. And he just probably going to be stuck on your third line and getting out there and doing cardio. Until he's willing to put in a little bit more effort, and he keeps saying it in the media how he's got to be better, so I'm kind of tired of hearing about it. Or until he becomes allergic to his equipment like Marian Hossa, I think you're just stuck with letting him do his cardio, because there's really nothing else he brings to the lineup. Like, he's not a tough hockey player. He's not gritty. He tries to be finesse, and he just lost it. I don't know what it is. Voodoo power, maybe. I have no answers, Robert. I really don't.
So I just did the 82 game point pace. Like, I know he missed a few this year, but had he played in all 82 games this year and scored at the rate he has so far, guess how many points he's on pace for?
It's going to be in the 30s, isn't it? Or the low 40s.
39. 39 points. This guy goes from 115 points 3 years ago to 39.
He needs to go to Winnipeg. Holy.
And he's still technically, he's coming out of the prime of his career, but he's still he's kind of right at the end of the prime of his career. Like, what is this going to look like 2 or 3 years from now?
Yeah,
That's what I'm worried about.
He should still be able to put up like 60 to 70 points at this point of his career. Like, with that skill set and the way he played in Florida, he wasn't taking a ton of hits and big checks in Florida. He was a perimeter player who played through the seams. And so that body is not full of wear and tear. It's still an effective body. So it's like, is it all just mental in your head, or did you literally have some Space Jam-esque take your talent away from you type experience? It's baffling. 39 points. That's gross.
The Flames medical staff should look into the Space Jam theory. That might be the best theory that I've heard so far about what the hell's happened to him.
Yeah, there's no answers. There's no answers, because clearly you and I don't have the answers. Clearly Huska doesn't have the answers. Huberdeau doesn't have the answers. It's got to come down to, he's got to refocus himself somehow, some way, and take on a different responsibility. And we as fans have just got to forget that it's $10.5 million. We just have to.
It's hard to do, though.
It is. And absolutely. And I don't say that lightly, because I look at him, even on Sunday, that's $10.5 million skating around doing nothing. But if we can adjust what we think of Huberdeau and he can provide us a little something, then maybe we can have a amicable relationship for the next 5 years until that contract wears down. And other than that, it's just a big black hole on the lineup, because you have all these kids you want to see, right? But you don't want them to play with someone like Huberdeau, who's not going to give any effort and produce anything. So tough spot.
Yeah, and like you said, you hope that he's a good mentor and a good leader in the dressing room, and that he doesn't have a poor attitude. I don't think he has at all during his time in Calgary, but as when it gets to the point where he's producing in the 30s, in terms of 39 point range, things could maybe start to get pretty ugly when it comes to Huberdeau. But he's got to persevere, and he's got to fight through this, and he's got to remain a good teammate, which he has been since joining the team, which is good. But you still need more when you're the highest paid guy. I wonder what that does for the dressing room. When guys are sitting around the locker room and they're talking when Jonathan's not there, and I wonder if they're I can't believe this guy's making $10.5 million. I'm Blake Coleman. I'm out here busting my balls. I'm blocking every shot. I'm hitting everything in sight. I lead the team in goals. I'm a very good penalty killer. I'm a good leader. I make 4.9. This guy's making more than double me. What the F is this? I wonder if those types of conversations happen. I mean, maybe they don't, maybe they do. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. That's just kind of how people think sometimes. But yeah, man, it's hard. And you know what? It's even worse when you go watch live, because sometimes you can when you watch live, you can really like hone in on a guy, and you
Yeah.
just get like a way better angle of the game and just watching like the plays they make and
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And when you watch live, like it's actually even worse in person than it is on TV. Like earlier in the year, I went to the Flames Red Wings game, and Huberdeau might have been the worst player on the ice. And like just watching him live, you just realize like how slow he is, how he doesn't move his feet anymore, all the ridiculous little passes he tries to make that don't ever work anymore, and you're just like, it just gives you a headache almost watching it. It's brutal to watch. So man, hopefully he could turn it around, because I feel bad for the fans having to watch this for the next 5 years potentially.
Yeah, me too. But one thing the fans do have, and I'm going to switch up here because that's a lot of Huberdeau and Kadri talk for me. There's two players out there, though, that the Flames pay to watch and see that have elevated their game since the Anderson trade. I know there are far and few in between. Both of these guys have decided that they're going to take on some responsibilities. And one of them is a brand new player to the team. I'm talking the defensive pairing of Kevin Bahl and Zach Whitecloud, and how actually really good they've been despite all of the horrendous talk we've had on the podcast today and how bad the games were last week. Those two continue to stand out. They work hard. They kind of have good communication out there and kind of already have a good chemistry together. What have you made of that pairing with Kevin Bahl and the new guy, Mr. Whitecloud there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin Bahl has been awesome this year. And like I remember like I tweeted it in like my post-game thoughts after Friday's game against Washington, but I'm just continually impressed by Kevin Bahl and just his development and his growth as a player here in Calgary. Because going back to last year, I thought he was good, and I thought he made a lot of good decisions. He had that great stick, breaking up plays like crazy. But I still thought there was another level to hit in his game in terms of physicality, offense, just like making his presence felt. And I think he's done exactly that this season. I've been super, super impressed by him. I think he is a legit top 4 defenseman in the NHL. I think he's a legit second pair guy. And I don't think a lot of people thought that the Flames were getting that when they traded for him. So the main improvement in his game that I've seen is, one, is mobility. I think he's gotten a little bit quicker and a little bit faster this season. And I think it's made it a bit of a nightmare to play against him. And then 2 is physicality. I thought last year he was like a little hesitant to get physical, but this year he's really thrown his weight around. I think he's been super physical in front of the net in his net front battles. And, also he started to like throw out some like pretty big open ice hits and hits along the boards that maybe makes opposing forwards kind of second guess decision-making when they're on the ice with him, because they don't want to get rocked by Kevin Bahl. So, I think he's been great. I think he's one of the few very positive stories of the season for the Calgary Flames right now. And yeah, I really liked him. What about you with Whitecloud? What have you seen from Whitecloud so far?
Before I comment on Whitecloud, Kevin Bahl, over those same 15 games you talked about Nazem Kadri, he has 6 points. Just going to throw that out there. I've actually really enjoyed this pairing. I really watched a lot of what you just said about Kevin Bahl. Has been spot on how I see it as well. What I've noticed about Whitecloud is he doesn't shut up on the ice. Like, this guy is constantly in communication of where he needs to be, where his teammate is, the play that they should be making. He goes to the bench and it's automatically talking to Kevin Bahl, and he just keeps going. I see a leader in Whitecloud. I see a guy who knows what it takes to win hockey games, to be successful in this league. Obviously, winning a cup will definitely help in that pedigree. I see a guy that the Flames got, I think, better value than we thought, or some people thought, in that trade with Rasmus Sandstrom going the other way. This is a guy who provides a very interesting conversation we'll have in a second here of should he stay or should he go. This is a steady guy, a guy that I think the Flames can rely on if they keep him. I think a guy that has earned the trust of the coach in short order, and I actually genuinely like watching him play as well. That pairing is a lot of fun to watch here. So early returns for me, I really liked Zach and what he's brought to the Flames.
Going back to Kevin Bahl, I just looked up like his underlying numbers. So this season, when Kevin Bahl has been on the ice at 5-on-5, the Flames have actually outscored their opposition 37-35, which is pretty shocking for a team with the goal differential that they have.
Yeah.
When Kevin Bahl is not on the ice, this is wild. Yeah. Okay. When Kevin Bahl is not on the ice, the Flames have been outscored 74-47.
Looks
They
like
get
Kevin needs to play 45 minutes a night now. It sounds like.
yeah, no kidding, hey. When Ball is on the ice, the Flames are a pretty decent team at 5-on-5, and they're probably the worst team in the NHL in terms of goals for and goals against when he's not on the ice. I guess that just
Wow,
shows how important, how good he's been this year.
that's quite the stark difference.
Yeah, it's wild, hey. Now, when it comes to Whitecloud, what's your theory on what they're going to end up doing with him? Do you think they're going to keep him beyond the trade deadline? Do you think they're going to bring him back next season, or do you think they're going to trade him? Like, how do you see this one playing out?
I think they keep him. I think the way that they've talked about him, the way Conway talked about him, I think they see this guy as an Anderson replacement in terms of a veteran leader on the back end because they love their leadership talk. I think they keep him. I don't know if that's the right decision, but I think he comes back next year and he's put in a very prominent role, probably alongside Kevin Ball, and they run with that pairing. That's kind of where I'm leaning at the moment here.
I'm with you. So I guess I have the opinion like what I think they should do and what I think the Flames will do. What I think they should do is I think they need to accelerate this rebuild. I think they need to trade as many guys as possible, essentially. And Whitecloud is on that list. That way you can bring in your draft picks and your prospects now, and you can just speed up this rebuild. Pinder made a great point about that on Barn Burner last week. It was an outstanding rant.
Yep.
And I totally agree with them. But then what I think the Flames are going to do is I bet you because Zach Whitecloud is such a good person, like everything I read on like Golden Knights, Reddit and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, like a lot of fans were devastated to lose this guy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teammates were devastated to lose this guy. So, I just see rave reviews about the human being. I think he's embracing being back in Western Canada. He's got a great personality. I think he's going to be incredible in that locker room. And I think he's going to want to be a part of this. And I think the Flames are going to see that and say, we have to keep him because of all those things. And then the other part of it, and this might be a theory of mine here. I'm gonna throw your way. I want to get your thoughts on this.
All right.
So another reason why I think that they're going to keep Zach Whitecloud is because I think they're going to want him to play next year with the Flames, and they're going to want to put Zane Parekh in the American Hockey League all year. So like if you trade Whitecloud now, and you want to put Zane in the American Hockey League next year, all of a sudden there's a massive hole on the right side of your D in the NHL next year. And my theory is that they're going to keep him beyond this deadline. They're going to keep him into next year, and they're going to do that so Zane has time to properly develop and properly get AHL minutes and actually truly be ready for the NHL. When he's 20, 21 years old kind of thing. That's kind of how I see it playing out right now. Do you think I'm crazy, or do you think that's a realistic possibility?
Do you want to see Twitter meltdown? Is that what you want? Because that'll happen if that happens.
Do I want to see the Saddle Dome burn to the ground?
That theory is actually a sound one, and it makes a lot of sense when you boil it down all the way to the base of it. You have him here as a safety blanket in case, and then you got to so that does make sense. So I like the theory. Where I come in on it is you still have Braden Pahal as well. So I think you're fine on the right side if you don't have Whitecloud next year. And if you're trying to gain all your assets and you're trying to add draft picks, I think Whitecloud brings a bigger value than some people might realize. I wonder if you flip him, can you bring yourself in another good prospect in a second round draft pick, or cut to the chase and just get a first round draft pick? Can you get more for him trading him, or does he bring you more value by keeping him? And so I see both sides of the coin as well. For me, I think though I still trade this guy, and not because I don't like Zach Whitecloud. I just mentioned how much I did like him, watch him play. I think trading him and the value that he would have on the market, the market of right-handed shot defensemen. You just went through it with the Bostons and Dallas and Los Angeles and whoever else was out there talking to you about Anderson. The market out there, and you could be able to go out there and find something that someone missed out on Rasmus Anderson for and circle back and maybe get a part of the package that you were going to get for Rasmus Anderson for Zach Whitecloud to help bring him more youth along. You still have Mackenzie Weegar on the right. You have Braden Pahal, who can be a serviceable defenseman. Brastevich has shown that he is a good right-handed shot defenseman. And in free agency, you can bring in another depth right-handed shot defenseman if that's what you really, really want. So for me, I would still be trading this guy, flipping this guy, not because I don't like him, but I know the value he can bring to me. But at the same time, if they keep him, and their theory is your theory, Robert, of Zane Parekh to the American Hockey League, we have a guy here who can play at the NHL level, then I'm all for that as well. So kind of playing both sides of the fence on this one, but I can see two paths that I can live with as well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of fans would agree with you that they want to trade Whitecloud because, once again, like I said, they want to speed up this rebuild. But just knowing the way the Flames operate and knowing how much emphasis they put on character and, you know, guys wanting to be here and all that stuff, I think they're gonna see that type of value in Zach Whitecloud, and I think they're gonna keep him definitely for this year, probably at least up until next year's trade deadline, and maybe even beyond that, up until he becomes a pending UFA. Just for that reason, like I could see next year it being Weegar, Whitecloud, Brustevich as your three on the right side, and then Paul as your extra, or maybe they trade Paul this year and they sign a free agent as an extra next year. But I do think that they're going to put Zane Parekh in the AHL next year, and I think Zach Whitecloud is going to be the guy who's, like you said, give me that safety blanket, the guy who's going to be able to play top 4 minutes, kind of protect Brustevich a little bit more until he's, you know, fully ready to be a legit top 4 defenseman. And just like the whole character thing, the whole Western Canada thing, and he's a good player. Whitecloud's he's a really solid player. I think all those things combined are going to lead to the Flames keeping him and prioritizing Parech's development in the AHL. That's kind of my prediction and how I see things playing out with him.
And if they keep Whitecloud, that's fine. But then that means they have to trade a Hanley and or Pahal this year. Have to take advantage of that situation, because you can't have all of these guys on the back end and then rave about how good your prospect defensemen are. At a certain time, you've got to show what you have. You've got to give those kids opportunities. What is Etienne Morin in the American Hockey League? What is Henry Muse down the line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these guys that they talk about, you know, what is Jeremy Poirier? Did you give him an opportunity at the NHL level? So if you're going to keep Whitecloud, you've got to move somebody else out. And so I think the market needs to be open from the Flames. Hey, we are going to trade another defenseman. They have to trade another defenseman. Come give us your offers, because you can't have all of them. Because if they come back next year with Weegar, Ball, Whitecloud, Hanley, where's the spots? Right? Where's the spots for
but
players?
One thing I will say though is just, so, you know, Kuznetsov has established himself as an NHLer, so he'll be back on the left side next year.
So that's 5 guys.
So there's one, and then you'll have, I think there'll be a spot on the right side for Brustevich.
There's 6.
So there's 6. But like when you look at the Wranglers depth chart on defense, I mean, it's not good. Like I look at their decor and I don't think to myself, these guys have to be in the NHL. Like the defensemen down there right now are Daniil Miramanov, who we all know and love.
No
Nick
comment.
Cicek. Nick Cicek's going nowhere in terms of an NHL career. Jeremy Poirier, who the team has essentially given up on. Etienne Morin, who's only like 20 years old. Turner Ottenbright, who no one's ever heard of. And they have
Western Hockey League fans have.
Sorry about that. That was very offensive to Western Hockey League fans. My apologies. And then they have Artem Grushnikov, who's got 1.36 games with the Wranglers, and I don't see him doing anything either. So it's just like they don't really have guys ready to go because they've already graduated Kuznetsov and Brustevich. So I do think there's space for young guys in the NHL right now. And yeah, like I said, like just the D prospects in the AHL right now are not great, to say the least.
Yeah, fair enough. Anything else we missed on the podcast here, Robert, that you want to talk about here today? We've done a nice little rant on Kadri and Huberdeau and Prasing Bahl and Whitecloud. Big 4 games before the Olympic break coming for the Flames coming up here. Anything we missed here on the podcast you want to bring up here, and where can the Flame fans find you and your work?
No, I mean, I think I'm all flamesed out now after that. Those are some big rants. There's a lot of emotion in there. But yeah, just this upcoming week, this is going to be 4 difficult games for the Flames. They got the Wild, who are playing really good hockey. I know they've taken a little step back lately, but they're still one of the top 5 teams in the league. You got Macklin Celebrini and the Sharks, who have dominated you already once this year. You got the Leafs, who are never an easy out, and then the Oilers. Like, And then they get back from the Olympic break, and once again it becomes another gauntlet. So it's going to be a long finish to the year. All I would say to Flames fans is just try to enjoy watching the young players whenever they do get an opportunity to play. And just that's pretty much it, because outside of that, there's not a whole heck of a lot to get excited about with the on-ice product right now.
All right. Back to Winnipeg?
Nope. I'm staying in Calgary.
All right. That's Robert Munich at Ring of Fire CGY on social media. I'm Vintage Johnny 84 as well. And of course, the show Red Mile Rundown, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast rotations. Flame fans, tell your friends, tell your family, and help us continue to grow. We appreciate you very much. Try to enjoy the hockey this week. We'll see you guys back here next week for another episode of the Red Mile Rundown.